If I had just one sentence to prolong someone's life, I'd say it without blinking. I eat this every day, and this simple thing can change everything. Believe me, this is not a gimmick or a small talk. I'm a doctor with over 30 years of experience. I've seen thousands of lives, people with strong hearts and clear eyes at 85. And those who, unfortunately, were already losing ground at 55, and every time I tried to understand why some fade while others seem to flourish with age, I was led to the same thought. There is a small accessible habit for everyone, which works quietly day after day, like a quiet motor that sustains life. And now I'll tell you something that many underestimate. Longevity doesn't begin with expensive examinations and complex regimens. It begins with what we put on our plate and what we repeat daily, without heroism or overexertion. In my experience, it is precisely this quiet, everyday routine that distinguishes those who stay in the game for a long time. And you know the most important, the simplest but truly life-changing thing, I'll tell you at the very end. This is something I usually tell only my closest patients when we are alone. Why is this topic critical after a birth? Because in middle age, the body becomes like an intelligent but demanding instrument. It thanks for attention and immediately punishes carelessness. If at 25 you could forgive yourself a sleepless night and a quick meal, then after 60 every little thing, salt for dinner, unfinished water, rushing instead of breakfast adds up months of well-being and years of life. And here is where our hero habit comes into play. I'll tell you about it in this video. It doesn't require money, but it does require respect. I beg you, don't ignore it. I'll tell you a story that amazed me. A 72-year-old man who had undergone major heart surgery came to me 3 months later with his eyes returning to life. He wasn't looking for a miracle pill. He simply made a single agreement with himself and began repeating it day after day. Within a week, his blood pressure had stabilized, and within 2, his sleep had returned to normal. A month later, he said something I still remember. "Doctor, I'm planning again." That's what a good daily habit does. It restores the ability to plan, and believe me, it can change your life. Don't think this is something exotic. I'm not talking about trendy powders or expensive miracle supplements. I'm talking about what's available at your local store and in your kitchen today. But there's a nuance, and it's crucial. It's important not just to know that it's beneficial, but to understand why, precisely in adulthood, it becomes protective for the heart, brain, and mood. We often chase quick results, not noticing that true power lies in rituals. Ritual is a bridge over the whims of the day. I've seen people who, by implementing just one morning habit, stop relapsing in the evening. How swelling went away, how clearer their skin became, how their light step returned. And yes, this is directly related to longevity, because longevity is not just a number of years, it's the quality of each day. And now another important point: psychology and the body are two arms of one organism. After 50, any tiny victories in the kitchen become victories in the soul. You stop scolding yourself for weakness, because suddenly you see how simple things work out, and this feeling heals like medicine. When I say I eat this every day, I'm not just talking about the product, I'm talking about an attitude, a way to give yourself support. Please show this video to your parents or friends. Sometimes one calm explanation changes family habits and prolongs the life of an entire home, and you allow yourself to enjoy life as you did in your youth. Enjoy the morning light in the kitchen, the warm cup, the quiet clink of a knife and a cutting board, the feeling that you're taking care of yourself not out of spite of illness but for the sake of life. If not yet, you and I have a chance to get that back, and I have a favor to ask of you. Watch this video to the end, because at the end, I'll reveal the key that connects all the recommendations into one simple system. It'll be a very short formula, but it will explain why healthy eating works for some people and not for others. I've seen it change lives quietly without fanfare, simply making a person stronger day by day, and today I'll share it with you. Believe me, it can change your life. Ready to go step by step? If so, I'll continue with the second part, with background explanations and the first concrete story from my experience. You know, with age, not only our bodies change, but also the very logic of our bodies. If in youth it strove for development, then in mature years it increasingly thinks about preservation. It's like an old but sturdy house. If you take care of it, it will warm and protect you for decades to come. But if you leave it alone, it will begin to crumble from the inside, and we won't even notice how the cracks become too large. In my experience, after 50, most people experience an unnoticeable break. Strength doesn't recover as quickly, losing excess weight is more difficult, colds last longer. And all this isn't the body's whims, but its honest signal. Take care of me, I've already worked for your youth. Now it's your turn to work for my old age, and this is where many make the main mistake. They continue to live by the laws of a 30-year-old, hoping that the body will somehow cope. It copes, but at a cost that you will feel in a few years. I remember a woman, a patient of mine, who was 68 years old. She had always been active, but in recent years she began complaining of fatigue and drowsiness. During the examination, we found no serious illnesses. But when I questioned her about her diet, it turned out that she, like many others, ate mostly the same dishes from her youth, often heavy, late in the evening, with almost no attention to detail, and it is in these details that the secret to longevity lies. As we age, our digestion slows down and our metabolism becomes more efficient. This means that every bite of food now functions differently. What used to be burned off in an hour can now be stored as excess weight or increase blood sugar levels. But there is another side. It is in adulthood that we can get maximum benefits with minimal effort if we know how to feed our body properly. That is why the habit I am talking about is so important. It works like a quiet regulator that gently keeps your body in balance every day. It is not a crash diet, not a fast, not a forbidden delicacy. It is a way to give the body exactly what it needs now, not 30 years ago. I have seen how, after introducing this habit, people's blood pressure dropped without pills, how their sleep returned to normal, how chronic swelling went away, and all this without debilitating restrictions. The key is to stop fighting your body and start cooperating with it. There's another important point, a psychological one. As adults, we already know the value of time, but we often forget that its quality directly depends on how we feel. When you take a small conscious step for yourself every day, whether it's a special food, the right mealtime, or a specific morning ritual, you signal to your body, I'm here for you, and your body reciprocates. Wisdom comes with age, but it can be strengthened by viewing your body as an ally. The habit we're talking about isn't just food. It's an act of care that restores energy, improves mood, and provides the very lightness needed for a long, full life. And in the next part, I'll tell you about the first concrete step, the first recommendation that helps not only your soul but also your physical well-being. This is something you can try tomorrow, and I'm sure you'll feel the difference. If I had to choose just one daily nutritional element for middle age, I would, without hesitation, name it a handful of fresh nuts. It might seem like there's nothing special about it. Ordinary nuts, which you can buy at any store, but this simple habit, repeated day after day, can become your quiet defender against dozens of problems that sneak up after breakfast. Why nuts? Let's look through the eyes of a doctor. After age 50, blood vessels become less elastic, the heart more sensitive to stress, and the brain more demanding of nutrition. Nuts are a concentrate of healthy fats and protein, B vitamins, magnesium, and antioxidants. They nourish the brain, lower bad cholesterol, improve heart function, and normalize blood pressure, and all this without pills. I'll tell you the story of one patient, Sergei Petrovich, 65 years old. He came to me complaining of fatigue, blood pressure surges, and memory problems. We prescribed medication, but I always add some small habits. I advised him, every day, a handful of different nuts, almonds, walnuts, hazelnuts, cashews, no more than a palm, but without fail. He was surprised. Doctor, that's all, I said, everything, but every day, a month. Later, he came back with noticeably more alert eyes. His blood pressure became more stable, the morning dizziness disappeared, but most importantly, he said, I stopped craving buns and sweets, and this isn't magic, it's biochemistry. The healthy fats and protein in nuts stabilize blood sugar levels, eliminating sudden energy surges and cravings for unhealthy snacks. There is one rule that many forget. Nuts should be raw or lightly dried, without salt, sugar, or glaze. Only in this they bring maximum benefits, and it's also important not to overdo it. A handful is not a bag. For a mature body, too many fats, even healthy ones, will be an unnecessary burden. How to instill this habit? It's very simple. Buy a small glass jar, pour the nut mixture into it, and place it in a prominent place in the kitchen every morning while making tea or coffee. Take your handful. Make it a ritual like washing your face or brushing your teeth. In a week, you won't be able to do without it. And this is exactly the kind of addiction I approve of. Try it for at least a week, and you will feel the difference. Light energy without slumps, a clearer head, fewer cravings for sweets. And most importantly, you will know that you are giving your all every day.